welcome. You are listening to At Home with Ifenu. Here, we'll talk about helping women know and understand their worth, find fulfillment in who they are, and in what they do. Every other week, we'll talk about your identity as a woman, discovering your unique purpose, intentionally raising the next generation, and your influence in homemaking. I am your host, Ifoma Nneka Omoni. Hello. Welcome to another exciting show on At Home with Ifenu. So, how have you been? I know most of us might be on our way to work, some might be at home, taking care of the family, or maybe on your way to your shop, your business, wherever you are on that way. I just want you to give us some of your listening time and attention, because today's show is going to be rewarding, inspiring, and a lot of value is going to be given out. And on the show today, I'm not alone. I have a very special guest on the show today, and his presence here shows that we are gender friendly. I know many people think that because our target audience on this platform is majorly women, so many people feel that I don't have guests that are men, but no, I've had a guest that is a male, and I have another one today, and it promises to be very, very interesting. So I'd like to introduce my guest. He is by the name Mr. Abayomi Fawehinmi. I would like us to welcome him. You are very welcome, sir, and we are glad to have you on our show. You are welcome.
Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me. Consider it a great pleasure to be extended the invitation, and I don't take it for granted. Thank you to the listeners for joining us too. I believe and hope that it will be a rewarding time together.
Yeah. So, sir, you are fondly known as Prof. I know from your bio that you've been a lecturer for some time. You still lecture in one way or the other. You still facilitate. You really enjoy things that have to do with knowledge impartation. You have so much to do also with human resource management and a lot of other things. But I'd like you to just introduce yourself. What will you like our listeners to always remember you for, or about you whenever they hear your name? Who is Mr. Abayomi Fawehinmi?
Oh, that's a very big question. Who is Mr. Abayomi Fawehinmi? Okay. Since you have asked me, I will try to describe or explain who Mr. Abayomi Fawehinmi is. Identity is very powerful, and the way we identify ourselves makes a lot of difference. My first identity is the fact that I'm a Christian, and unashamedly so. So that's my first identity. So I'm first a Christian. Secondly, I am a male, to be precise. And it's a privilege to be appearing on the female show. If you know me or follow me on social media, I take time a lot to celebrate women, and I've been involved in lots of gender issues, policy in the workplace. So first, like I said, I'm a Christian. Second, I'm male. Third, I am a husband to a wife, and I'm not a very powerful husband. I only have one wife. And I don't intend to add to that. So, I mean, I know some men has many wives and many sideweeks, but I don't have that strength. So I am the husband of one wife. Then my next identity is to say I'm a father of two sons. I have two boys. And then I am an HR professional, where I help organizations manage their human resources. I also sit on the board of the regulatory organization for human resources management in Nigeria. So nobody becomes a HR professional without coming through me and the members of the board in Nigeria. I've served as expert panel on HR issues globally. And so that's who I am as a professional. In terms of what I like to do things like this, anything that will empower make a difference and help people to become better. I'm also a very committed person when it comes to the subject of education, leadership, governance, national development, and culture change. I believe that those are the levers. I am also very passionate about issues that's got to do with helping the underprivileged. A friend of mine said one of the things he doesn't like about me is that anytime David is fighting Goliath, I always stay with David. And I said it's not my fault. It's just because I think that's the pattern I think my maker also has. So whether it's in terms of male, female, you will likely me side with women. If it's in terms of disabled versus disabled, you likely see me stand with the disabled. If it's between young and old, you likely see me start with the young. However, it's between the fat or the thin. I typically will not stand anywhere.
Very, very interesting, sir. So do you do anything to relax? Because we see that you do a lot of, brain work, thinking, strategizing. How do you relax? How do you try to unwind? Is there any particular thing you do to do that?
For me, I usually use silence and sleep to relax. So when I feel that I need to relax, I just keep my mouth shut and just go and stay somewhere alone. I find it's been very helpful for me. In fact, I remember my elder sister asked me a very interesting question. We went for an event. It was a very rare event, and we'll be there for a while. And then she started looking for me in the hall, and she didn't see me. Then she came outside to see somebody up, and then she saw me inside the car. And she was like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I came to relax." She said, "So you left a party to go and sit in the car?" I said, "Yes." He said, "So, but why don't you enjoy the party?" I say, "Where I am in this car, it's heaven. I'm fine here." And so, I try to do that. So if you work with me or we do stuff together, you just see me disappear. Sometimes I don't get a place to disappear to. I honestly would disappear to the bedroom and go and sit down for 2 minutes and just go there to cool off. So I'm not much of a music person. I don't like watching films, but I just take those times away. I also read to relax. So it's also a way for me to relax. Yeah.
Very, very interesting introduction. Okay, so let's dive into our focus for today. So our topic is what really is work. And even from your introduction, I'm sure your definition is going to be very interesting. What really is work? And this topic came to my heart, when I saw a particular post that was describing the life of a man and the life of a woman or his wife. So he went to a psychologist, and the psychologist asked the man, "What do you do? As in, what kind of work do you do?" And he said he's an accountant, and he does this, he does that. And then the psychologist now, I think the psychologist asked him, "So what does your wife do?" He said, the man said his wife doesn't do anything, that she's just at home. And then the psychologist asked the man, the accountant, "So if your wife is just at home and you say she doesn't do anything, who is the person that takes care of the house? As in, who cooks, who take care of the children, run the house and everything?" He said it was his wife, and that it is because she doesn't work. So I started laughing. I was like, how can you say somebody that runs a home doesn't work? And so that was where this topic actually came from. What really is work? It's an interesting topic to me because in our world today, many people see work in different light and perspective. Many people see work or they categorize what serious work or work that has value is. And particularly the mundane work is not seen as valuable as maybe working in an organization or a corporate setting. So I would like to ask, what do you see as work, sir, from your experience and your journey in life so far? What really is work?
Okay, thanks. Very great and interesting question. It's great and interesting because we can approach it from different angles. For anyone who wants to approach it from the point of view of science, work is the movement of force over a distance. So anytime you move, you apply a force over a distance, that is work, technically. So for example, if you carry a plate from one point to the other, that is work. If you help a baby change the nappy or the diapers, that is work, because you are applying force and that force is going over the distance. Actually, if you yell at a child who is doing the wrong thing, that is work, because you are applying the force of the vocal powers and is moving over a distance. So technically, work is whenever you apply a force over a distance. Therefore, it will be very wrong for that man to say that his wife does not work because of the fact that she's applying force over a distance. When Usain Bolt won his second gold at the Olympics, there was an analysis that was done, and they compared the energy that Usain Bolt used to run the 100 meters, all the energy and the exhaustion. And the analysis I saw compared the total input in terms of strength, energy, joules of energy spent for Usain Bolt. And they found that all the total investment of energy you use is less than 1/3 of what the average woman uses to work at home. So that woman who wakes up in the morning and gets the children ready to school, maybe also drives the children to school, prepares their meal, takes care of the house, goes to pick them, cooks the food, cleans the house, does the laundry, does the dishes, does all of those things. She's counselor to the children, she's nurse to the children, she's advisor to the children. At the same time, she's also nurse, advisor, cook to the husband. He's also the emotion manager for everybody. She's also an auntie, she's also a sister, she's also a neighbor. If she's religious, she goes to a church, she's a mosque, she's a sister leader. What they found out is that the total energy that woman uses in a day is more than 4 times what Usain Bolt used to become the world champion.
Wow.
So it's actually a fallacy when people say a woman does not work, or they say she's just a sit-at-home wife, or she manages the home.
Full-time housewife.
Yeah, it's a job description. Actually, there's actually an advocacy going around. I think it started in the US, where they said one of the biggest injustices against women is what is called unpaid labor. And unpaid labor is the work women do they don't receive a salary from. So, which is part of all these household chores. Actually, estimates runs into billions on a dollar basis, on an annual basis. So, women do work, and it's very unfortunate when some men don't realize that. Don't also forget, and that's what I try to tell men, because sometimes I get an opportunity to talk to married couples on issues like this. That look at this from this point of view. If your wife becomes ill and she cannot do all this work, and you have to go and hire someone to do it for you, you know what they call how to make. So when you want to value something, they call it hedonic valuation. It's one of the ways. So, for example, now if you want to say what's the value of a candy or biscuit, you compare it to say, okay, the average biscuit is 5 naira, so this biscuit should be 5 naira, right?
Yeah.
But there are some things in life that you don't have things to use to compare it. So like good health, there's no comparison to good health. There's no comparison to good friendship, right?
Yes.
So how do you value that thing? The method that is used to value is what is called hedonic valuation. And what do? You will assume the thing is taken away. Right? So the value of good health is when you are sick. The value of friendship is when you lose a friend. So if you say your wife does not work, so all you should just do is that since she doesn't work, let her travel. I mean, if she doesn't work, she doesn't contribute, she's totally useless. Allow her to travel and leave the house to you as the husband to run. Whatever you have to do extra because of her absence, Now, when she's traveling, don't let her to prepare everything. You know, some men will say, okay, I'll do this exercise, but she will prepare all the soup.
And they will stock up the freezer.
They will stock up. No. She will just go out and then she's away for 1 week. Anything you have to do in additional, anybody you need to pay additional, any stress you have to go through additional is the value of the work that woman is doing. And I think it's only an unwise man that will not appreciate the wife for that.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'm so happy because I knew that the best person to take this particular episode will be good that it's a man taking it, so that it's not like we are just trying to, encourage ourselves just like that. So what role does our work have on our significance? The way, I know you've said something about that just now, but why is it that people attach their worth, their identity to the kind of work they do? So, people feel that when maybe you are a medical doctor, you are of higher esteem and worth than the cleaner that will need to come to that office and make sure that your office is ready for you to practice that day. Why is there a connection between our work and our worth as human beings? Is there any biblical explanation? Because on this podcast too, we use the word of God as our perspective in discussing most of the issues we bring up.
So, very great question. Thanks for asking that. Work is powerful. Remember, it wasn't man that started working. It was God that told man to work. When God created, many people say, work is because man fell. No. Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2 are the purest chapters in the Bible. And the reason is because in those 2 chapters, there was no sin. But there was work. God created Adam and Eve and he blessed them. Actually, work started from Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. In the beginning, God created. So when the Bible started, the first thing he told us was that God was working. So he said, in the beginning describes when, right?
Yes.
Then he now went and described the subject, God. In the beginning, when God, subject, created work. So the first thing we hear about God is that God works, is a creator. Therefore, the first identity that God introduced us to about himself is work. God did not tell himself, they never told us he's holy. In the book of Genesis chapter 1 and 2. But he told us he's a creator, right? So the first thing God wants everybody to know is that I am a worker. I am a creator. So when there are Christians who don't create anything, they are not godly. Godliness does not mean holiness alone, because the first identity of God is creation. So when you make soup, you make okra soup the same way every day. You are not creating okra soup. The first time you made your okra soup, you created it. The next time, because you are godly, you should do something different. Create it another way, because that is part of what is your identity as God, right?
Yeah.
And that's why God doesn't necessarily cut and paste. Every time he does something, is different, because he's a creator. So in the identity of God is creation. Now, in Genesis chapter 1, going further, he created man, and then he told man, and God blessed him and said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. 3 words that describes work. Be fruitful, which means do something and get a result, right?
Yes.
Multiply, which means add effort to something and multiply it. Replenish the earth, which means restore, improve, develop, advance the earth. So when that blessing that God gave man, inside it was work. And then he created Adam, and then he not only created Adam, God did the first consultancy job. God created Adam, created Eve. That's why created Adam, created animals. And God said, okay, this guy I just created, I want to hire him as a consultant. So the first consultant in this world was Adam. God asked him, come and name these animals. It was a consultancy project.
Wow.
So all of us should be involved in consulting, because before there was sin, we were consultants. Right? The first consulting job was contracted by God to Adam to name animal. It was a nomenclature project. Of course, God did not pay because maybe you'll pay later. And then after that, God now told Adam to go and manage a garden, which was a business enterprise that God created called Eden. So you realize that and this happened in Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2, when there was no sin. So work is part of it. Jesus now encapsulated, he said, my Father walks, so I walk. Right? Wow. Before there was sin, there was work. Before there was marriage, there was work. Before there was government, there was work. Before there was money, there was work. Before there was education, there was work. So work is critical to identity. However, one unfortunate thing was that when man fell, and God said in Genesis chapter 3, one of the things God spoke to was work. He told Adam, when you plant, the result will not be what you expect. So work became distorted, became disfigured, became discolored because of sin. So when we talk about the effect of sin, there were many effects. One of the areas that gets affected is work. Now, one of the ways it also affected work is how man started to value work. So we will say a doctor is better. You know, when we're in school, you remember those useless debates they used to ask us to do? The farmer is better than the doctor. Yes. That's where that rubbish started from. And that's why till date now, doctors and nurses are fighting in Nigeria. That's why till date, ASU is fighting SANU. Because all those people, when they were in primary school, they did debate. A farmer is better than a lawyer. A lawyer is better than an engineer. That's where we planted those seeds that we are harvesting today. And so any society that decides to label some jobs and does not give them respect can never develop. I can never develop. I have had reasons to consult for companies and countries in North America and in Europe, and you realize that in many parts of the world, their attitude to profession determines how well the profession does. I give you the instance of a country like Finland or Korea. Some of the best educational systems are countries like Finland and Korea. In Finland and Korea, when you want to go and study education, you must be the best.
Wow.
While in Nigeria, the cutoff mark to get to College of Education is the lowest. In Korea and in Finland, the cutoff mark to become a teacher is the highest. So when you can't become a teacher in Finland, then you go and become a doctor.
Wow. So education is highly prioritized.
Yes, and that's for them, and that for them shows that jobs, the society that values jobs. So when a society does not value a woman for working at home, then it's going to affect the psyche of that woman, right? And that's the importance why we must ensure that people should be respected for whatever they choose to do. At the same time, for those of us who work, it's also important for us not to put our identity in our work. Because, I mean, I've seen people, I once asked someone, I said, sorry, what's your name? Man said, my name is Pastor Solomon. So I wrote down first name, Pastor, then surname, Solomon. He said, no, his first name is not Pastor. I said, so what's your first name? He said his first name is Solomon. I said, so why did you say your name is, I asked you your name. He said, yes, my name is Pastor. So I said, no, your name is not Pastor Solomon. Your name is Solomon something. Pastor is your title. It's not your name. Don't come and tell me I am engineer. You are not engineer, so and so. You are someone who is an engineer. And so that's why people lose their job and then they find it difficult. Yes, because they have labeled themselves. A human being can sing. He changes his name and says, my name is Ifoma Sings. How can that be your identity? You can sing. God has created us with multiple gifts and talents that we will put ourselves in the wrong zone when we just label one. There is a young man in the Bible, Joseph. When we met Joseph, the first thing we saw him doing was apropos. The Bible said that when his brother does wrong things,
he will
report his dad. Apropos now, so his first job title was Joseph Apropos. Then the next thing we saw about this Joseph was I decided to dream. Abi?
Joseph the dreamer.
His brother started calling him Joseph the dreamer. You know, when he was coming, they said, here comes the dreamer. Then after some time, the guy goes to trouble, he becomes a steward. You remember when Potiphar's wife was trying to call him? He said, this slave you have brought, this Egyptian, this Jew you have brought, and all of that. Then he became a steward. He became Joseph the steward. Is that correct, in prison?
Yes.
And then in prison, for the first time, he interpreted dreams. Then he became Joseph the interpreter. Then after some time, he had an encounter with Pharaoh and became Joseph the food collector and food gatherer. And then became Joseph the prime minister and became Joseph. So at every point in the life of this guy was something. But that was not him.
It was just different roles.
Yes. Jesus was a carpenter at a point. At a point is a teacher. At a point is a rabbi. So don't say, oh, I'm just a teacher or I am just an engineer. You are more than that.
Wow.
Your identity is important, but you can't let your job or your profession define your identity alone. It is what you are at a point in time. And so for any woman who is listening, who is a sit-at-home wife or who is a homemaker, that's what you are today. Tomorrow you can choose to become something else. Don't let anybody disturb you. We did the birthday of Joyce Meyer. I'm sure some of us know Joyce Meyer.
Yes.
She turned 79 a couple of years back. Joyce Meyer went on TV for the first time when she was 50 years old. Today, the whole world knows Joyce Meyer. Did you notice that when I said, do you know Joyce Meyer, I didn't tell you the job title of Joyce Meyer.
You just called her name.
And that's why I tell people, when we mention names like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, we don't call their title. Because we know who they are. It's when you don't know who you are that you start carrying titles, oh, prof, oh, doctor, oh, engineer, and all of that. So for any woman today, your children are young. It makes sense for you to be at home. 10, 15 years down the line, you can go back to the business world and you can become a CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, when you read the story of Cecilia Ibu, who was a former MD of Oceanic Bank, you may not like the way she ended her career, but that lady was a homemaker for a long time, went back to the business world and became the bank CEO. So it's never too late. I've given you the example of Joyce Meyer too. You're a homemaker today, your children are grown, you can go back to the business world and become CEO of informal banks.
Thank you, Prof. In fact, you are really hitting a lot of things. And like I usually tell my listeners, I said, I started this platform last year, and some years earlier, I never knew I would be doing this. And I said, I don't know what next I'll be up to, so it's different seasons for different roles, but we open up our hearts and allow God to lead us and not tie our significance or identity to the roles we play. Thank you very much, sir. And COVID hit the world in 2020, and there was a shift in the way work was done. So we have seen now that many people are working from home, or there is a mix. Some people still go to the office. Sometimes they have meetings virtually from their homes. So there's a mixture of home and office working hours. Do you think that this new norm would help in building better bonds at home and families? Though it depends on the individuals, but do you see this as the future of those that work in that corporate setting of always being in the office? Do you think the future of work will be more at home? And then do you also think that it will also help in building better family bonds?
I think so. I agree with you. I think it will improve. Because if more companies like writing policies that seem to reflect more consciousness of people's need for some space to be at home. Actually, in one province in Canada, last week in Ontario, a right to disconnect law was passed, All companies are supposed to have policies that gives employee the right to disconnect, which means when I close, my boss can't call me asking me question about work. Of course, what that means is that people will have more time for their family. Also, I mean, like you said, for COVID, a number of people now work from home. Some of the things that we felt can be done. I mean, when COVID hit, one of the areas I got pretty concerned is how will healthcare cope? How will doctors cope? But for over 1.5 years in North America, doctors were consulting to people on phones.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell your doctor I have this, and he tells you this. And I've never heard anybody that died during that period from the fact that he did not see his doctor. So, but that doctor is at home. So while the doctor is consulting for you, he can be rocking the baby. While he's doing that, he can be folding clothes. He can be of use to the wife. He can actually be helping a child with the homework. So, I mean, all things being equal, it should give us more time together, more time to bond. But let me also mention this. The fact that Oga and Madam are at home also brings a lot of opportunity for conflict.
Yes, because it happened during COVID time too.
Yeah, so there was a lot of conflict, and actually the data showed from various parts of the world the increase in domestic violence at that same time. Yeah. So it's also something that we need to manage our time together if we are not wise. Rather than use it to build stronger homes, we use it to turn the home to a boxing ring. Wisdom is always profitable to direct.
Okay, sir. Please, we know you do a lot of work, but could you share with our listeners, in case they would like to connect with you, your social media handles? And I know you do a lot of writing and publication, so I'd like you to just share with our listeners your social media handle and what you do online.
Okay, I'm more active on Twitter and on Facebook. So on Facebook, I am Yomi Fawehinmi. My personal page, my official page is Abayomi Fawehinmi. On Twitter, I am Yomi the Prof. On Twitter, on Instagram, I'm Yomi the Prof. I think those are the social. On TikTok, I downloaded it, but I can't tick or talk, so I'm not very active there. Snapchat, I tried to snap, but I didn't chat. So I'm not very active there.
So you're more on Twitter and
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm Abayomi Fawehinmi on LinkedIn, and I spend a good part of my time discussing issues around leadership, parenting, marriage, gender issues. On LinkedIn, I think 90 to 80% of my posts on LinkedIn is all about women. So I have a lot of stuff around that.
So if we want to read your content, we should go to LinkedIn.
Yes, go to LinkedIn or go to Medium. On Medium, I'm Yomi Fawehinmi too. All my articles are either on LinkedIn or on Medium. Yeah.
Okay, so as we round off the show for today, what are 3 practical ways you will encourage women and any other person working from home, doing the supposedly mundane things, to encourage them to make them realize that even if the people around them don't value their contribution, that they're actually contributing a very significant part of the development and the build up of a better society? What are 3 things you would like to tell anyone listening now?
1, don't underrate your contribution. Paul wrote in one of his letters, he said, I magnify my office. If they say, who art thou? You are the one that will say, I am high. So 1, don't underrate yourself. You are not just a woman. You are not just a housewife. You are a builder of homes. You are a molder of destiny. You are a creator. You are somebody who makes a lot of difference. So don't look down on yourself because of that. You are the most important person when it comes to things like this. So you need to do that. Number 2, you need to find ways to show that you are also getting better. You know, there's a sense in which an accountant will tell you, when I graduated, I went to write ICANN, then I went to write CIMA, then I want to write this. So you can see some element of improvement, right?
Yes.
I think when we also choose to be stay-at-home parents, we can also show evidence of improvement. So cooking, for example, we can get better. Who said that you can't go to cookery school? I mean, and become a better cook. I mean, so you are a wife, you have children, they are 5, 6 years old or 5, 6, 3 months. What stops you from going to go for a course in first aid, or going to learn how to do CPR.
And now that we have virtual classes, online classes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you too should also invest in your development, being a stay-at-home mom. If you are the one that they give money to go and shop and things, who says you can't attend Lagos Business School to go and learn about budgeting? Now the one that buys food for the house, who say you cannot decide to go for a training on purchasing? I mean, because at the end of the day, you can also get better while you are staying at home. So improve yourself, improve your skills at what you do, and finally find ways to show your value. Find ways to show your value. Communicate what you are doing. Let your children know what difference you make in their life. There's no need for you to be humble about it, because there's a sense in which if you're not careful, your children will start to compare you to their mom, to their friend's mom, who is a judge, who is whatsoever, and tell them, hey man, what I do is more important than what the judge. This is, and it is just what it is. I mean, there are people in the Bible that we know about. The only thing we know about them was the kind of children they gave back to us in the world. There's a woman called Mary in the Bible. We don't know whether she was a good cook or whether she can dance well. The only thing that brought her into the Bible was the child she was supposed to bring into the world. So parenting is not a small business that anybody would take for granted. We don't know whether Mary was skillful, was educated, or whatsoever. The only thing we know was the kind of child she brought. Same thing as Elizabeth, right? Yeah. Same thing as the parents of Samson. The only thing we know about them was that they gave birth to a great child. So it's not something to take for granted, and it's a value we need to show at the end of the day.
Wow. Thank you so much, Prof. Mr. Fawehinmi, he said we should not identify ourselves with our titles. But I'm so grateful because you really encouraged me, and I'm sure my listeners have been encouraged today. And his last points were that you should value what you do. Don't ever look down on yourself, your contribution. You should keep improving. Improve on yourself. Go for courses, get better at all you are doing, and know that very soon you'll move to another season of your life. So you need to also get prepared. And he also said you should also show the value you are bringing to the table. It doesn't need to be in dollars, but the influence you're having over your family, your children, and those around is really significant. Thank you so much, sir, for being on this show. We are truly grateful, and for the wisdom, insights, and everything. We trust God that in the days ahead, we'll have more time with you again on At Home with Ifeno. Thank you, sir, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks for joining us this week on At Home with Ifeno. Check us out on Instagram at Ifeno17. As always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. See you next in 2 weeks' time.